It's been 4 years of the vPub, over 4 years of the vPub. And checking back, I can't recall a single vPub that's been dedicated to celebrating peat and everything that we've come to love about that incidental, heady and aromatic flavour in Scotch whisky. And world whiskies now, actually. So tonight we're going to correct that. Tonight we're going to have a session that's kind of looking into peat, what it's all about, where it came from, why it exists. And we've got 6 peated whiskies to share with a couple of guests tonight and do a wee bit of a deep dive too and see what peated whiskies we can get for a good quality experience at an affordable price. I'll see you in a second. Hello, whiskey folk. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the vPub. Welcome to another Thursday night. I hope you're all doing well and I hope you're all sitting comfortably. I know that not all of our barflies are doing very well. I'm sorry to hear that our friend at Germany, Luna Aaron, is a bit poorly and can't join us tonight. And we got a wee message from her earlier on. Luna, I hope you're doing very, very well and I hope you're well on the mend. Sláinte to you. Good health to you, Luna. Cheers. Welcome, everybody. Yes, it's true. As somebody was saying there as I went live, they were quite surprised. Jason McDonald was saying, what? That's an atrocity that needs to be corrected. 4 years. It's too long without the peat episode. I'm fairly sure I've covered kind of peat-centric vPubs. So we've looked at, affordable Islay whiskies. We've done peated Islay whiskey comparisons and things. But as I was scrolling back to try and remember if we'd ever had a peat session, it became clear that we hadn't dedicated a single session to peat and exploring peat, what it's about, how it's come to be. And if I have done anything to do with peat, with very few exceptions, it's kind of focused on the seat of peat, if you like, that is Islay on the west coast of Scotland. Now that makes a lot of sense, and certainly the distilleries that exist there, for the most part, they're all very much involved these days in doing a heavily peated style as well as other things. But tonight, what I wanted to talk about was what peat actually is, why we have this flavour in whiskey, how it's come to get into our whiskey, but more specifically, it's fashionable now, isn't it? Because there's a reason for peat existing, and it's an incidental reason that we'll cover shortly. But it seems like every country, if there's whiskey production in that country, there's peated versions available. Not everywhere, not all the time from every distillery, of course. But it seems to be that as a core range gets bigger, there's almost a desire to put a peated expression of some description in there. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We've got 6 blind samples in front of us. Of course, I know what's in the glasses. The 2 guests tonight, they don't know what's in the glasses, what are in the glasses. But we have 3 Scotch whiskies and 3 world whiskies, all different takes on the peated style. And there's only one from Islay in the lineup. Let's jump into the lounge quickly and see how all you beautiful whiskey folk and dedicated barflies are doing tonight. I've got a wee Dalwhinnie in the glass, a sample from Andrew Peers, actually. This is a North Star Dalwhinnie, 52% Dalwhinnie. Fantastic stuff. An absolute fruit bomb. And a treat of a whiskey, thick and heavy on the palate as well. Loving it. I hope you're all doing well. Let's say if you're trying to get my attention, of course, just use the orange highlight. And the way you do that is just to simply type Aquavite. Make sure you spell it with a V and I see the orange and I can try and reply to you from time to time. If you're joining on the replay, thank you so much. I really appreciate the folk who turn up and pick this up on the replay. Hopefully I've been able to have some time after the live tonight to do my homework and put in the chapters so you can scrub through the timeline or you can click on the links underneath. Thank you so much. If you're watching on Facebook, the chat that I'm interacting with tonight is in the YouTube chat, but I appreciate a lot of you are comfortable in Facebook and that suits me too. Thank you very much. Jeff Whiskies in. Evening, Aquaviti and all the barflies. Hope all is well. Everything is great with me, Jeff. I've got 6 tasty whiskies in front of me. What can go wrong? Hellswood is in as well, saying, evening, Roy. Jimmy Legg is here. You star, Jimmy. Good to see you. Brad Smith is in. Malt Brother Ray. JG. JG, that looks like a new name. JG, is it a new name? Suddenly I'm thinking that perhaps it's not. Regardless, it's nice to welcome you in. Naomi Oakley, that's definitely a new name, Naomi. Hi all, first time here. Thanks to Jason Bradford. Naomi, you're very welcome. I hope you enjoy your time here tonight. Everybody will be interested to know what you've got in the glass if you're dramming along with us. Pinch Hitter Whisky Lounge. Peated Whisky, a category that includes far more than just Islay. In fact, that seems forgotten at times. I would agree with you that that's getting more and more the case. Whisky Myth Molly's in with the puns already for Pete's sake. Good to see you, Ben. I hope you're doing well. Gordon Fraser is here. Good to see you, Gordon. Bud Jenkins, Richard Hall, Menno's here. It's actually a Menno quiz tonight. Yes. I reached out to Menno and said, hey, do you think we could put together a Peat theme quiz? And he was like, aye, of course we could. Well, he didn't say aye because he's Belgian, but aye, he probably thought aye. So I hope you're looking forward to a wee quiz that I can participate in too, and Menno's here to host. We'll also get Menno involved in a wee game of his Speyside as well. George O'Brien is here. Good to see you, George. Don McCausland. Drew from Arizona. Good to see you, Drew. I hope you're keeping well, my friend. Wonderful to see you. And Frank Rochford is here. Fantastic. Frank was able to, through a Patreon draw I did for patrons, he was able to bag himself a wee 6-pack of drams. So he's drinking along tonight. He's got the drams that we're sipping tonight, and I hope you enjoy them. Frank, you can chime in and share in the chat what you think your preferences and things are. Max Kreitner is here as well. Good to see you, Max. Thank you very much for that package you helped me out with recently. It's very much appreciated, my friend. Thank you. Ian Bowes is here. Good to see you. Donna Pass Whiskey, Tim. Whiskey Games, Matthew Bishop, Gerben Blocker, Bruno Martins. 300 of you in already. So see, while we've already got 300 in so early, I'm going to raise a wee glass for a birthday celebration. I want to raise a glass and say happy birthday. I'm just going to pick one of these randomly. Eeny, meeny, miny. Let's go for this one. A birthday celebration of one of our barflies. She's very well known as being one of the hero sharers in the community. She's very active with her husband, Peter. But I'm raising this glass for barfly Denise Lee to say many happy returns today. I don't know if you're going to make it in tonight, Denise, but if you're there or if you're watching on the replay, just know that myself and all of the barflies wish you a very, very happy birthday. Cheers to you. Everybody join me in wishing Denise a happy birthday. Gregor is in. Time for a dram. Callum Craigie, good to see you, Callum. Good to see you, Gregor. Jimmy Jazz, my friend Jimmy is in. Scott Allen, superb. Scott, I hope you and Becky are doing well. Jason Bradford is here. Good to see you, Jason. Arnie Tiger is here as well. I've missed a super chat already. I'm so behind already. Who did that come in from? Let's see if I can catch it. Naomi Oakley has joined the Barflies already. Thanks, Naomi. Barflies, just to let you know, if you joined by clicking the members button underneath, you become a supporter of the channel. It's only $1.99 a month to become a Barfly. And that means that through your support and all your fellow Barflies that support in that way, the vPubs will always be ad-free. It's especially useful when you're picking them up on the replay. You don't need to sit through ads and things. The vPubs are never monetized. That's thanks to the support of the Barflies. It's the way that I would prefer to have it. And there was a dram that came in from Jeff's Whisky Lounge, and it was my first live vPub. Good to have you, Jeff. And he's saying, savouring the last of my 2021 Lefroy Cartius Slancha. That sounds fantastic. A nice high ABV Lefroy for tonight's stream, Jeff. I think it's perfect. I'll sip the rest of my Dalwhinnie and say thanks for your dram, my friend. Cheers to you. And Rolf Nordley has already been a Barfly for a year and he's celebrating. Thanks, Rolf. Thank you very, very much, my friend. Thanks for your support. And Alistair Gray is now 24 months a Barfly. Wow, his Barfly's support been going for 2 years already. It's incredible how quickly time goes. Zach Justin is saying welcome. Is also joined by Aquaviti Barflies too. Zach, it's wonderful to welcome you in. And it looks like a new name too. Connor Smith is here saying evening, Roy and Barflies. Wonderful stuff. Let's get the topic on the go tonight. We're already 12 or so minutes in, I think. Oh no, only 10 minutes in. I must have gone live quite late tonight. I apologise for that. There is something I'd forgotten to do and I had to do it at the last minute. My fault this week. Anyway, peat. I think I've got some peat here. I've got peat in a jar here. Let's show you what peat is. Now, for so many of you, you're going to be going, oh, come on, Roy, we're barflies. We know what peat is. We know what it's all about. Yes, you know, talk about the whiskey, whatever it is. But I think there's a lot of people that don't really understand what peat is. And certainly I think there's a lot more that don't understand how it comes to flavour our whiskey. This is peat, and I'm going to hold this up to the camera and get me out of shot here. I'm very red tonight. It's very warm in here tonight. I've got the fan on running now, but let's try and get that to... Can you see that? Now, it looks like I'm basically holding up a lump of dirt. But of course, I am. That's exactly what this is. Now, it's a bit more fibrous. It's a bit more brittle. You could break... It's easy to crumb and break up. So it's not quite like coal, but consider it a wee bit like coal. Peat exists all across the world. It's not just a Scottish or even a European thing. It's everywhere, and it's made up of different vegetation wherever it exists. The top layer tends to be some kind of hardy plant matter that can grow in wetlands, that can grow in a bog. And as these plants die and rot and are compressed down under these wetlands, they eventually over time build up this layer of peat. And as the layer builds and it builds and builds, it compresses and compresses, and the darkest layer tends to exist under the water table, and the more fibrous, drier layer exists above the water table. There's a wonderful video, by the way, that was sent to me by Andy Bell from Arran. When he saw what the vPub topic was going to be about this week, he said, Roy, this is going to be interesting for you. And I watched that video. It was him last year, along with 3 other guys from the industry, Scott Adamson, Andrew Smith from Little Brown Dog, and James Wills from Kilhoman. So 4 guys perfectly placed to talk about peat in the context of whiskey. And I'm going to drop that link in the description box below. I recommend that if you're interested in peat and understanding a bit more about it, they do a much deeper dive in that video than we'll do tonight. But you've got this compressed turf, basically. That's what it is. It's earth, it's dirt. However, because it's fibrous and because it's made of that organic matter, if you dig it up and dry it out, it can be burned as fuel. And for many regions across the globe, but certainly in the Highlands and the west coast of Scotland, back in the day, that was the primary source of fuel. As simple as that. Anthony Dunn's bought me a wee dram to say, that looks like turf. Lol, you have a great vPub, Roy. Anthony, so wonderful to have you in. And thanks for buying me a wee dram. Essentially, it is turf. Cheers, Anthony. That's exactly what it is. It takes a long, long time to build up. I think the rule of thumb for it is that they say for a metre of it to settle, to be built up, it takes a century. So it's going to take a long time in fact, it's more than that. It's for a metre, it's 1 millimetre a year, so it's 1,000 years every metre. So it takes a long time for this thing to build up, but there is a lot of it out there. In the context of whiskey, there is an anxiety about digging up what is essentially a carbon sink to burn it just for the pure indulgence of flavour these days, because we have alternative fuels now. Of course we do. But I have to say, from my studies, from the way I look into it, the amount of peat that you need to flavour whiskey is very, very small. So we have this wonderful thing through an incidental use of being a fuel source. Incidentally, it was not designed flavoured the whiskey. And the way that happens is that in the kilning process, so after the barley has been malted and it needs to be dried, they put it in a kiln, and back in the day, they would put it over a kiln that was dried using a peat fire. That's kind of why we still do it today. However, it's done a little bit differently today. Back then, the peat fire was there just for heat. The smoke comes off of this peat fire, and the phenolic compounds in the smoke adheres to the barley. It sticks to the damp, wet barley. And so you have this flavor through just drying the barley that is incidentally added to the barley malt. So that means that through the process, even through mashing, fermentation, and distillation, even at the output of the new make, and then on through maturation, it retains that smoky, peaty quality. Not all whiskey made has that, because not all whiskey needed peat as a fuel source. But what's interesting is that over time, even when there was alternative fuels available, this became a flavor. It became something that people developed a taste for. Maybe not as a single malt, but certainly as a seasoning whiskey that would go into blends, something that would add a nice, deep, aromatic richness, some base notes into the whiskey. It was used extensively in blends. That's how we've ended up with this flavor. But as recently as the 1960s and even into the 70s, it was considered that nobody would want to drink a peated malt in its own right unless they had to, unless that it was all that was available. Nobody really thought that something as smoky and as flavored as this would be desirable. Famously, there's a fantastic video on YouTube, Whisky Island, from, I think it's from the 60s. It's black and white. It's wonderful to watch. I've linked it a few times in the vPub. If I remember, I'll do it again tonight. But Bessie Williamson of Lefroy is in that video. And she talks openly about it being too flavorful for most palates, heavily peated whiskey. So this what they make at Lefroy goes off to the mainland for blending purposes. That's changed days now. The whiskey community loves this stuff, loves it. You want to see just how much they love it? I put out a poll earlier in the week. I put it out on YouTube, and I asked everybody, on the vPub this week, we're talking about peated malts, and we're talking about peat. Can we just ask who actually enjoys peated whiskey? And the options I gave them, 5 options. Right at the top was love it. It's where it's at and in my preferred style. The second option was like it a lot, but among other styles. The middle option was can enjoy it occasionally. The second from last was not really my thing, but I suffer it. And finally, cannot drink peated whiskey. I'm amazed by the ratio here. Absolutely amazed. I imagined that it would be much more weighted to the middle, but you can see here between the 19% that said love it and the 58% that said like it a lot, you've already got almost 80%. You've got 77% of the community saying they really, really like peat. And then there's only 5% that either say it's not really my thing, they only suffer it, or they can't drink peated whiskey. Only 5%. So what we're saying is 95% of the community, that is stunning to me, 95% of the community enjoy peated whiskies. This is a big deal. This has become something that was incidental, it wasn't designed, something that wasn't fashionable, something that wasn't desirable. In fact, at times it was even considered an off note, something that you wanted to remove from your malt. That's why distilleries over time switched to other fuel sources and the maltings changed. The malting didn't use peat anymore. And it's only in the last few decades that peat has become this really super fashionable thing that everybody, it seems, can't get enough of. That's fascinating to me. So there is an element of fashion in it. And I'll go one further than that. If you go outside of whiskey in Scotland, if you go out away from the Western Highlands and the Northern Highlands, you're going to find peated whiskies offered everywhere. That style and that desire for that style has meant that lots of producers, regardless of where they are in the world, Canada have lots of peat. North America, some peat. But regardless, it doesn't matter. There are peated, or let's say smoky styles of whiskey everywhere. So we can talk a wee bit about that because I think it's funny. I think it's interesting. I think it's curious how this thing that was considered unappealing is potentially, in modern times, one of the most appealing aspects of whiskey enjoyment. It's amazing to me. That, combined with the fact that I've put together a blind flight, is what we're going to talk about tonight. There are 3 scotches in this flight and 3 world whiskies. The guys who are joining me tonight, they don't know what's in the glasses in front of them. They're going to have a wee guessing game to see if they can pick out the scotches and give us their notes. But I'm only interested in what they think of these whiskies, because the price ranges from about £30 to, well, one of them you can't buy, and one of them is very expensive, I think, for what it is. Bruce Bernard has also joined Aquavitae Barflies. Welcome, Bruce. And I think I missed somebody else picking up and joining tonight. Gav's Drams. Good to see you. Good to have your support on the Barflies as well, Gav. Good to see you. Glennis Made. Glennis, I hope I'm pronouncing your name well. He's saying, Peat is a complicated subject, but I love it. Thankfully feeling better than last week. So digging into a dram of Bunnahabhain Moynia 2021. I'm glad that you're back enjoying your drams again, Glennis. It's good to welcome you in a better state. And thank you very much, my friend, for your virtual dram. Cheers. That's the unpeated whiskey out the way. That's the Dalwhinnie done. Tommy T has joined the Barflies as well. Fantastic, Tommy. Good to see you. And it looks like somebody else has just dropped a wee dram. I'll catch that. It's Jimmy. Jimmy, good to see you. He's saying, Roy, don't you find it odd that something smoky would be loved? I love anything smoked. Fish, cheese, and of course, any animal at all. Aye, Jimmy. Thank you very much for your virtual drama, friend. Cheers to you, Jimmy. Always a pleasure to welcome you in. I've got peat, fibres and dust all over the place now. Let's get it back in its wee jar alongside this peated barley. Now the barley is smoky, but there is no smoke odour from this at all. I have crunched peat before. I have literally, I'm not going to do it tonight. I have bitten into it just to see, and it was virtually tasteless. It was a wee bit like dust or soil, that dry soil, I don't know. So there is no, you have to burn it for any of the flavour compounds to be released. Anything that we want in whiskey, you have to burn it. In the past, there have been various experiments with doing it slightly differently, where they've smoked water and done all of these kind of crazy things. But the standard practice that exists today is for it to be burned. Obviously, it's mostly through industrial maltings now, although a lot of distilleries do still. Lefroy, Bowmore, Kilchoman, quite a few more, Benriach, Balvenie, they have their own maltings in-house in which they can produce their own peated malt. But in modern times, in Scotch whisky, it's all done traditionally, burning it. Bud Jenkins is saying, I broke into my precious bottle of Lagavulin 16 for this episode because it was my first love in peat. Well, let's marry that to Jimmy's comment there about talking about loving smoked things. I've got a lot to thank whiskey for, but before I enjoyed peated whiskies, I used to say the only foods that I couldn't enjoy was sweet and sour style and smoked. Now the only thing is sweet and sour, but even then I can eat it and enjoy it. It's just, it's not my preferred choice, perhaps. But smoky foods, I've come to love. And that was whiskey. I didn't enjoy peated whiskies. And a bit like you, Bud, it was Lagavulin 16 in 2009 that made me realise that smoke is a wonderfully rich and aromatic and heady flavour. And it's quite fantastic. That is what's got me into tasting so much more out there on the planet that is smoky. Meat, cheese, smoked fish, anything at all. I don't mind. In fact, I actively seek smoky things now. It's opened up a whole world of fantastic foods right across the planet. Loads of countries have smoky things in their menu, and it's wonderful to be able to enjoy that again. That was whiskey. Now I love... it is a mood thing for me. Smoky whiskies are a mood thing. Sometimes I go off it for a while, but when I'm on it, and I'm drinking peated whiskies all the time. And very quickly, you'll notice that you dial out the peat thing, the smoke, and you're tasting everything beyond the smoke. And in order to get a taste back again, I'm finding for peat and smoke, you need to leave it alone for a wee while. Falscraft is saying, it's my belief that after all those sweetish beverages like rum, cognac, unpeated whiskey, and even more, the non-alcohols, there is a craving for something savoury. I think that's right, Falscraft. And I think that's nice. It's nice to always have a peated dram in the lineup. And Gordon Fraser is saying, will the peat fields ever run out? Yes, Gordon, they will run out. If we use them and use them and use them, they will inevitably run out. But we're not using them as a fuel source anymore. We're not running power plants, or we're not really, there are still homes out there in rural areas that use peat for domestic heating and domestic fuel. But generally, alternative fuels are available now. For the last 50, 60 years or more, we've had gas and electricity. More recently in Scotland, certainly, we've had North Sea oil. So if we just consider it in a whiskey context, there's another fascinating video by the Whisky tribe where they go off to Andalusia in Texas in order to get some of their barley malted by Andalusia. And they put the barley into this kind of really makeshift setup. They've basically got a tin shed with a peat fire connected with a pipe, if you like, a horizontal chimney. And they set the fire inside and put the peat on it to smoke the barley. All of the barley is smoked by peat that fits into this tiny little cardboard box. There was a stat given to me at Lefroy at a tour once, and they talked about the tonnage of peat that they use in-house in a year, and it was very, very small. More than that, the peat that's necessary or most desirable for malting barley is the top layer of really dry, fibrous, loose, brittle peat. It's not the really dark, energy-rich stuff that's down deeper. It's the stuff at the top. This is what they need for barley, for malting barley. And whiskey, only whiskey, uses very little of it as things stand, as I understand. It is not a renewable energy source, though. So we do have to be careful, and we do have to be responsible about how it's being used, no doubt. But as I understand it, Gordon, I think that from whiskey perspectives, we're not really in danger of running out of peat anytime soon. Blair Stevenson is saying, I've always been obsessed with smoked foods. My first whiskey ever was a Lefroy 10. That makes sense, Blair. Absolutely. And I'm amazed how many people I have managed to evangelize into whiskey through a smoky, peaty style. Whiskey Games Matt is saying, am I right? The peated whiskey was used mainly as a background flavouring for blends in the 1980s. No, it goes all the way back to the 19th century, Matt. It was considered just too pungent, too powerful a flavour, and it was blended out with lighter whiskies and eventually grain whiskies. And it did become part of the flavour profile, but it wasn't something that was often enjoyed as a single malt unless it was the local whiskey that was available to you, and it just incidentally tasted of smoke. But guess what? Your clothes probably had that aroma as well. The food that you cooked was often potentially cooked on a peat fuel source. Your homes would have smelled of peat fire and peat smoke. So I guess that depending on how you were brought up and what environment back then, you might not have been particularly sensitive to a pungent, smoky, peaty whiskey. This whiskey in front of me here is one. I've got everything poured blind, but if you can see, there's quite a gradient on colour. And just for fun tonight, I'm going from lightest all the way up to the very darkest. So I think I know roughly what's in these glasses, but I'm just kind of playing along. This one, to me, this is kind of the most coastal, sooty, smoke and lemon drops, teeny bit salty. This is the most sooty out of them all, but I don't want to say too much because my guests tonight are sipping blind in the background. And this is that colour of dot. If it focuses, you'll see. But I've got the colours tonight. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a link in so that all of you guys can see what they're drinking blind tonight. And you can kind of listen to their comments and see what they're sipping along with. If I share this link with you, this should work, and I'll drop it in the chat just now, and you should be able to click through and see what whiskies are on tonight. Now, I know that my guests tonight aren't interested in looking at this, but you can. And then later on, I'll release the colours of each so that you know which colour matches up. But if you click on that just now, you should be able to drop in and see the 6 whiskies that's on the table tonight. Let's say drop in to my guests and see how they're getting on. I can, throughout tonight, talk about different kind of peaty aspects as we go. But let's bring in my first guest tonight. He's been on the vPub a few times. I know he's a favourite. And at this kind of thing, I think he's uncannily good at it. Let's see how Whiskey Geek Ben is doing. Hello, Ben. Good to see you, my friend. How are you keeping?
Hi, Roy. I'm not bad, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, very well, very well.
Good.
You don't look flustered. You look fairly comfortable. But I'll remind you quickly. It's not about. Look how red I am tonight. I'm particularly flushed tonight, haven't I? Is it the peat?
Blame the peat. Good as excuses.
It's only now that I'm looking at you that I realise just how flushed I am. It's very, very warm in here, but that's the excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, there's no pressure on you tonight, Ben. This is mostly for me to say, you know, peaty whiskies from Scotland, still obviously from Scotland. I think it's still the best value peaty whiskies that are out there. We'll see about that. And also, is it definable and which are the most enjoyable? That's all what I'm after. So it's very much putting the whiskies on test. Have you got any initial feedback or feeling or gut feel about it?
Yes, lots of gut feeling and contradictory, going from nose to palate and all sorts of confusion so far.
So I've already let the cat out that 3 of them are Scotch. Half the lineup is Scotch, right?
Yes, I had the same initial thought, just going off the nose. 3 Scotch, 3 non-Scotch. But now, having thrown palate and tasting notes in, I've flipped between which 3. So it was just luck in the first place, I think.
Well, you know what you need to do? You need to stick with your gut, right? You need to go with your gut and stick to your first pass guesses, or at least keep those notes so that if you do second guess, you've got a chance to but like I say, it's not a blind matchup. This isn't a blind challenge tonight, but it is a blind flight with idea trying to discover in the theme of this 2022 year where if there is value available. So with a focus on peaty whiskies, I've got a few whiskies in here. All of these whiskies I would be happy to drink and by myself. I've not put anything in here I consider a dud. But there's at least one that I enjoy less, and there's one that I'm really surprised about, and 2 that I think are stellar. Maybe 3 that are particularly good. So, you know, I'm not trying to catch anyone out, but I think I'm surprised that at least one of them is particularly good value for me. And it'd be interesting to see what you think as well. So give us a summary. Which have you enjoyed and which do you like a bit less? That's be a good place to start.
So I have them laid out in front of me. I've only just finished ranking them, including my taste. So I go work my way up. Starting with red and green in joint down the bottom end. One of them, cards on the table. One of them I think is possibly an old blend.
Okay.
Then blue.
Okay.
Shortly after, then pink, then yellow, and finally orange. And I have a feeling I may know what orange is, and an old favorite.
Sorry, Ben, I'm so distracted because there's tons and tons of people and looking at the presentation. So what I need to do is publish this to the web. I don't know how that'll work. Publish. publish that so that more people can see it. And that means I'll need to drop in another link just in case it's not working.
I will say there's two here which are fairly unusual to me. To which one of them I feel like has a somewhat Irish, reminiscent of an Irish type profile.
Which one?
Pink.
Okay.
And I hope it is Irish because I quite like it. I like it more than any Irish whiskey I've tried so far.
So you're a fan of pink?
Yeah, it's third from the top. So I'd be quite happy because that could be my, hook into some Irish whiskies if it does end up being Irish. Either way, I'm quite enjoying it. There are a few of them that if you hadn't told me they were peated whiskies, I would have thought them very subdued, but coming at it looking for the peat and trying to label the peat and using that as an identifier. Hell, there were some of them that were quite prominent on the nose and then completely fell away on the palate for me. And then there were some of them where I couldn't find it at all on the nose, and then they kicked in on the palate. I've just shuffled everything around so that it's ranked, and I've lost track of which are which. But
so, do you want to just give me your rank then? Just what you prefer, first to least, just out of interest, just by colour.
Favorite is orange. I think that's a Scotch, and I think it may be an Islay.
Okay, orange.
Behind that, yellow, which I don't think is Scotch. I have no idea what it is.
Okay.
Then pink, the one I think may be an Irish. Then blue, then green, which I think may be a blend, and then red.
Ooh. Superb. Very interesting. Fantastic. So I tell you what I'm going to do, Ben. I think the best thing to do is for you just to kind of, I mean, that's all I needed from you tonight, just your favourite to least favourite. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to Sevi quickly. I'll bring you both in again, and then I'll share with you both at the same time what we've got in front of us. And if you want to play a game of matching it up, you can, but it's entirely up to you. There's no points. I'm not going to keep scoring in it. And just to see if you, because I think you might be surprised at a couple of things. There is nothing here that's impossible to buy, let's say, depending on where you are in the world. There are no old blends. So that's interesting that you thought the green one. So where is my green one?
So initially,
I get it. I get exactly what you mean.
And initially, the nose is lively. Sense. I get vinous, winey, some orchard fruits, this nice marshy peat. It's soft and it's wet. There's a fruity sawdust, possibly like a cigar ash, and then it mellows out. It's fruity peaches, a soft sweetness, some wet, soft woods. And then when you take it to the palate, it's very, very rounded profile. And it's got that kind of fruitiness again, kind of an old bottle effect. So that's what I'm looking at when I'm talking about rounded. There's a bit of everything. There's no harsh edges. There's no prominent anything for me.
So instead of being a kind of spiky experience that's up and down, this is much more harmonized and just kind of much more mellowed out.
Like that one, contrary to the
and which
one.
Is the second one you held up there?
That was blue.
So what you've got is on the green one there, you've got something that's much more rounded with no spikes in any directions on your little charts. That makes perfect sense to me, buddy. It really does. I'll leave you in the background for a bit, and I'm pulling Sevi for a second, and then I'll bring you both in together, and I'll let you know what you're sipping tonight, okay? See you in a second, buddy. You're good at this. You know that? You're good. He's always impressive, that guy. He's always impressive to have on. I really like listening to him. I reached out to the bottle chasers as well. Of course, one of them, Gregor, is away out in the west coast of the US, so I couldn't get any samples to him, of course. Even if I had the time, wouldn't have been legal to do that when I needed to employ the Mule Network. Scott is still celebrating his 50th birthday and is busy with family tonight. But the one I really wanted in tonight has been able to make it. Sevi's been able to make it. And the reason I wanted Sevi in is because if you force him to declare his love for peat, he has to admit that he still sits on the fence a bit. Let's bring him in and see what he has to say about peat. Hello, buddy. Good evening.
Good evening. How are we doing, Roy? How are you?
No bad,
well?
buddy, no bad. Let's hope your internet holds up tonight, my friend.
Yes.
Have I been a bit unfair to you there? Have I been unfair by saying...
No.
Tell us what your relationship with peat.
Well, I don't think you've been unfair at all, Roy. My kind of experience with peat is very limited. As I put on Instagram before we started, I consider myself a peat Padawan. I'm definitely not an experienced peat kind of lover, but I do enjoy like a hit of peat when it takes me within a certain. Normally, I have to say within a heavily sherried whiskey, something like a long row. It needs a bit of a hook, but it can't be just peat for me because I just feel like I'm not ready for it. Again, also in the summer, I would never go for peat because it would be too. I guess most people wouldn't.
So younger Ardbeg, Lagavulin, Kalilas, bourbon cask. There's less of an interest there for you, but mix it with something with a hook, like an active cask, a wine cask, or as you say, sherry and peat just works perfectly. I agree, or something really quite bold, like a long row.
Yes,
that's exactly what I would guess for you.
Yeah, absolutely. What I will say though is I have had been quite fortunate to try a couple of older independent kind of maybe Islay whiskies, which have had that kind of edge of the peat taken off it a little bit, so it's become a little bit more mellow, a little bit sweeter, and that for me is absolutely lovely. Unfortunately, not lovely on your bank balance, but if you can get a wee sample even there, it's
absolutely.
It's yeah. So if you can get sometimes you can get one of these indie kind of maybe unnamed Islas that are a little bit older, and the real hit of peat is taken off it.
And I think what's interesting there is that it fits and it makes sense because as peat matures in the cask, year by year, that peaty blast, that super powerful hit, the phenols break down, they change. Cask takes over, environment takes over, and the peat, is the older the whiskey is, the peat becomes more and more of just part of the orchestra rather than the loudest. And sometimes I've tasted Old Bamors and Old Lefroy where you're struggling to even pick up, and I'm speaking about Lefroy here, you're struggling to even pick up potentially that it's a peated whiskey. So I get that completely, how you would be drawn to that, not least because it's pretty fantastic liquid at that age as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So have you found any
really
hooks?
Got into my Bamors. I've got into my kind of slightly older Bamors, even the kind of the ones back from the three words that we shan't put on a live stream, but that kind of era, even though it's kind of goes those Parma Violets kind of perfume.
FWP you're talking about.
That's the one. Yeah, that's it. I'm not going to obviously.
I mean, the other problem is that it's a bad place to be, Sevy, because you can't afford it.
Yeah, I know. It's just too much. Yeah.
Are there any? What I've tried to do tonight is that there are one or two exceptions here for reasons, but mostly I'm trying to focus on good value tonight. I'm trying to find things that the community can enjoy, and for people to hold up a glass tonight and say, you know what, I'm quite enjoying this one, and for me to be able to say, well, that's good because it's available and it's at a good price. That's what I would hope that we can achieve tonight. There's certainly one of them that's doing that for me. Let's ask you: is there any hooks here? I'm going to hold it in my hand. Is all I'm going to do. I'm just going to hold it in my hand, and you tell me if there's a Sevy hook, and tell me what color it is, and I'll see if it's right.
Right, there's definitely one which has like a Sevy hook for me, but unbelievably, it's not. It's actually fared fairly badly in my rank of 1 to 4, even though it is definitely, I would say, the most hooky whiskey, I would say, of the piece. Now, for me, the most hooky whiskey is the yellow.
There you go.
There you go.
The Sevy hook is the yellow one.
Absolutely. Definitely the most hooky.
And that link again into the chat so that people can click. If you're watching the replay, it'll be underneath as well. You can click and you can see what Sevy has just. Let me know if that's working. Hopefully, it should be working for everybody now that they can see that. Hopefully, people can see what Sevy has just nominated, and that's exactly the one I would have guessed that Sevy would have picked. I tell you what, buddy, before we get Ben back in so that I can share with you what's in these glasses, you might be quite surprised. Tell me what your favourite to least is.
Well, the funny thing, I put in the chat just before I came on that, like, I think with Ben and I, it's a bit like Jekyll and Hyde, because, like, I was listening to Ben and I was going, wow, like, I really, like, admire what Ben can do with his palette and the kind of the notes that he comes up with, because I'm like, I was looking at my notes and going, I don't know if I'm like, where's that? Where is that in my notes? It's completely not there. So I've kind of gone almost like the other direction. Well, maybe not the other direction, but my kind of favourites and things I don't think are going to be similar to Ben's at all. I've kind of got a completely different vibe. But one thing I will say is we've both chosen the same favourite whiskey. So
you're
orange,
you're both in the orange camp.
Yeah, number one, orange. And I have a feeling I know what that is, even though I probably shouldn't. But the thing is, he thinks it's an Isla. I don't think it's an Isla. I think it's an island, but I don't think it's an Isla.
Okay.
Shall I say what I think it is?
Tell me what you think it is, yeah.
I think it's a Talisker, but I don't know what age.
Okay.
Because Talisker, I'm right in saying Talisker does have an element of peat to it. I'm not.
Oh, it's peated, absolutely.
Yeah.
Peated Talisker.
that would be the classic Sebi that I chose a whiskey that actually wasn't peated. But anyway, so yeah, but like I've gone, so my order, do you want my order or do you not want my order?
Please do it.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I've gone orange number 1.
Yep.
Number 2, I've gone blue. Number 3, I've gone green. Now, I would say that 2 and 3 really kind of swapped places a lot. I didn't find a lot between blue and green, but I really enjoyed. I thought the green was quite youthful, but it was a lovely. It was light. And to quote the man who is not here, 3 was secondhand peat for me. I really struggled to find it. It really was secondhand peat, to quote Scotty. 4 was the Big Hook whiskey, which actually started unbelievably at number 2, but ended up gravitating down to number 4.
So yellow in 4th place.
Yellow in 4th place. 5 was red. I didn't really get on with that as much, but to be fair, the pink at number 6. I spoke to you a little bit about this off camera. I almost can't drink number like the pink because it reminds me of Jägermeister, and I cannot drink Jägermeister at all. It's so herbally and kind of bizarre. I don't think it's whiskey. It's for me. I like all I get off it is Jägermeister. I've got Jäger. I've got sweet strawberry. I've got dung. Well, for some reason, I thought, could it be the Floki Icelandic dung whiskey and something like that? But it's probably not. But I've got it down as a Scandi.
Or the Anjaba that Roddy and I had, that was the elephant dung smoked one from Stefan Novak. Yeah. Sure. I can tell you that Floki and Anjaba, I think I've got that name right. I can tell you that neither of those are in.
Okay.
Frank's actually given, he's saying yellow is my favourite. Orange is possibly in our bag, Frank Rochford is saying. So, Frank, if you can drop in your favourites as well, yellow to least, and let me know, and I'll record yours as well. So Frank's gone for yellow as his favourite, and I know that you're sipping along in the lounge tonight, Frank. So I'll include yours in as well, just out of curiosity. Buddy, that's interesting, and I'm a wee bit surprised. I have to say, I'm a bit surprised. It shows that everything in whiskey is a journey, and you're starting to get a wee bit. For you to pick that orange as your favourite,
it's gorgeous.
With me, I think this is orange. I think this is the cleanest whiskey in the lineup tonight.
That's why I got so my notes I've got here. I've got clean, crisp, slightly medicinal, carbon rather than soot, earthy, metallic, lemon, and I don't know. I just got the kind of the waves off it, so that's why I kind of went Talisker. I just thought
that's it's a good roundup for this whiskey. I think it's good notes for it. I'm surprised because I would have put it at the back end of the lineup for Sevi, knowing your palate, knowing the things that you enjoy. I think it's nice to hear you picking that up and saying, no, this is beautiful. That's an interesting thing. Absolutely, it's interesting. Buddy, I'll drop you back in to chew over them a wee bit longer.
Thanks very much.
I'm going to pick up a comment here, and then I'll bring you and Ben back in, and I'll reveal what we're drinking, right?
Yeah, it better not be Kilkerran. But that's no, I'm just kidding. But that joke's
There's
gone.
no cocaine tonight. There's no cocaine, buddy. No more cocaine, Gates.
Okay.
See you in a minute, chap. See you.
Cheers.
Good old Sevi. Aye, it's show. I've always got Sevi in this. If I'm drinking in a lineup and I drink something that's really loud and shouty and bold and obvious and overt, either through cask, either through particularly out there left field spirit styles, I think this Sevi would like this Sevi because he likes the variation, he likes the hooks, he likes the extreme ends. But I would have to say this orange tonight, it's just very clean and creamy and just nice. It's balanced and oceanic and salty. Sevi said metallic. I would even say that this is a wee bit minerally too. So Frank, it's going to be interesting to see. So let's see. Graham Fraser's made a comment to say, isn't it interesting how many Highlands and some Speyside whiskies have peated versions today? Let's dwell on that for a second before I bring the guys in. Peat is a fashion now. Let's make no bones about it. It's just fashionable. So if you're a Highland distillery, it doesn't matter how you're malting your barley, whether you're most likely contracting it out, of course, to centralized maltings. But it really doesn't matter. You can have the malt any way you want. It can be delivered to you any way you like, to your specification. So theoretically, with some caveats, it's easy for any distillery out there to, at the end of the year, or to schedule in a peated campaign. And people will buy it. People are enjoying peated whiskies. So we've got, as Graham says, we've got Speysiders, peated. We've got hundreds of choices out there right across the mainland of Scotland as well as the islands, from the Highlands, even from the lowlands, certainly from Campbelltown, of course, certainly from Islay. But all over we can have peated styles. It seems like it's difficult to find core ranges that doesn't have a peated option in there. Tom and Towel has its old Ballantrae, isn't it? Edredar has Balich, and Tomatin's got his Kuboken. You know, all of these Highland distilleries and Speyside distilleries, Benriach do peated malt, Glendronach does peated. So many. Even Balvenie does Peat Week, right? So peat is available everywhere now. It's not the preserve of the West Coast. But when you think about it, that makes a lot of sense. There is a traditional element there that all of rural Scotland potentially could have had pockets that would have relied on peat as a fuel. And certainly as a flavour, as a distilling thing, as earth that you can dig up and make a fire from it. It's appealing whether you're running a legal distillery or an illicit still. It's fuel that's immediately available. So it is a traditional thing. But as we've moved to alternative fuels and that fashion disappeared, we're right back on top of that fashion now. People are loving peated whiskies to the point that distilleries that are nowhere near a peat bog all over the world, regardless of which country you look at, have peated styles. Now, I'll admit they're doing it in different ways. Look at the Indian whiskies that'll import peated barley from Scotland. It's already malted and pre-peated. It's ready to go and it's shipped over to India. But there are producers like Paul John who have been known to import peat to malt locally because they use their own local 6-row barley at Paul John. So they imported peat. There's other ways of doing it as well, where you can simply just take your distillate that you're normally making and source some ex-peated casks. You can put your distillate into a peated cask and give it a peaty overtone. That's not going to give it the full hit of peat. But sometimes, I'm included in this, sometimes people just like to have enough peat to add that savoury seasoning to it. I think some of the best whiskies are whiskies that just have a nice amount of peat. So there's that way of doing it too. And there's been experiments in lots of other ways to do it in the past with smoked water and crazy things like this. Look at the Craig Duff from the early 1970s, a whiskey that's very difficult to get now in Glen Islay. Strath Islay. No, sorry, not Strath Islay, Glen Islay. I think it was from Strath Islay Distillery though. And they were both using this experimental peated water where they literally they smoke the water for production. And that gave a very different take on peat, a very light touch with the peat as well. Wonderful whiskies if you ever get the chance to try them. There's lots of ways of doing this. Perhaps local to a distillery, it might not be peat that's available. Perhaps it's going to be some form of wood, something, scrub oak in the case of brimstone, for example, mesquite. There are various other things that you can burn in order to impart that smoky flavour into the barley or the cereal, whatever grain it is that you're using. It's fashionable to have that smoky style of spirit. So, like everything else in whiskey, Scotch isn't the only option anymore, and it hasn't been for a long time. But let's see how it is in the blind lineup tonight. I'm going to reveal to the guys what we've got in front of us. Let's bring in Ben. Let's bring in Sevi. We are going to play a wee game of Visit a Speyside, boys. But we'll get this out of the way first, because I know you'd be keen to know what you're sipping in the glasses.
Do you have a plan for revealing this?
I'm just going to hold the bottles up. Is all I'm going to do. I'm not going to tell you which is which though just now. Glennis Maid is saying there is a clear point where peat goes from smoky, heavy, and meaty to rich, oaky, and briny. As for me, that's after 12 years and at 55% and above. That's interesting. So that's similar to what we were talking about, where it starts to mellow out and get a wee bit different. I'm trying to catch Frank Rochford's. Who have I got in for moderation tonight? I've got Ebhead Rolfin, time for a Dram Gregor. I've got Hell's Widden as well. So if any of you have picked up Frank Rochford's favourites, try and get my attention if you can. I'll keep an eye out for Frank. Although I can't see him just now, I just wanted to get to see which one he was enjoying. So, do you just want me to go with this, or is there anything here in the lineup that you think I know what this is that you want to be confident about and just try and go for a wee blast of glory? It's up to you.
I'll go for one.
Ben,
Go,
okay.
Ben, come on.
Well, I'm pretty sure that orange is not a Talisker. I historically don't get on with Taliskers. That I found it interesting that you picked up on that minerality and the metallic tone, both things that you pointed out. I associate that with not only a particular distillery, but a particular piece of equipment in a particular distillery.
This is why we have a whiskey geek. Go ahead.
On the line arm in Ardbeg, they have a purifier that sits on the bottom half, which is essentially a copper heatsink that condenses extra spirit and feeds it back as an additional reflux loop into the still. And I find that gives this weird metallic tone to Ardbegs. And so I think that's an Ardbeg 10.
You think
And they say I'm
10?
the alchemist. They say I'm the alchemist. That is the most scientific. I felt like you were giving me a dissertation presentation. That was amazing. I hope
Cool.
it's
He's some guy. This is why he gets. That's why people suggest that he comes back on again to do these things, and every time. This is fascinating, Ben, because even if this is not Ardbeg 10, just for you to associate that and to pick up that, because that's one of the things that I'll never forget Daniel from the Whiskey Tribe talking about, when he transitioned from just tasting whiskey and trying to isolate flavors to then associate them, what element in the production they could come from. It was a game changer for him. And I always found that to be fascinating, and I've never ever forgotten it. Graham Young has bought us a wee dram to say, what a super interesting lineup. Cheers, Sevi, Roy, and Ben. Thanks to you. Happy birthday to Denise Lee as well. Happy birthday, Denise, of course. And Graham, thank you very much for your dram. Cheers.
Ben, I can only say that is amazing. That is actually amazing that you can pick that out. Now, I considered myself to be not too bad at this. Well, clearly I'm not very good at it.
Well, until he discovers that it's an Ardmore, right? So
yeah, exactly.
We haven't heard if it hit the mark or not yet.
It's a high coast.
You're both on the same one, the orange, which was your favourite. You thought maybe a Talisker as well. There are some Taliskers that I'll forgive you for that. There's been a couple of very pale, very light 8-year-old Taliskers that have played a bit more like this, that have been much more heavily peated than a Talisker 10, a Talisker 18, some of the other Talisker releases, and I can see why you might be drawn in that direction. Some of them have been very mineralic to me as well. But Ben's right, this is not a Talisker, and there isn't a Talisker in the lineup tonight. So I will share. Is there anybody want to say anything else about any others?
Can I put a little more skin in the game?
Yes.
I think yellow is Scotch and Highland Peat, although I have no idea what distillery And
Okay.
I think blue is also Scotch, but it's weird. It's super weird, and I feel like the only reason I've marked it where it is in this flight is because of the lineup. If I isolate that one and drink it on its own, because it's so weird, I'm going to find a bunch of hooks to it and find it super interesting. But they're the three that I think are Scotches.
Wow.
So you think
I went
yellow is a Scotch, orange is a Scotch, and blue is a Scotch? No problem. Sevi,
orange is the Scotch, blue is a Scotch, and green as the Scotch. I said yellow specifically was American. I thought it gave me barbecue sauce, root beer, menthol, a bit of Bovril, which clearly means it's nothing of the kind.
the barbecue sauce I get. It's
yeah.
sweet, sticky barbecue sauce.
Yes, exactly. That was the thing, and it kind of with a wee bit of that kind of sarsaparilla, not sarsaparilla. What's the official root beer thing? It's I can't remember
Wintergreen,
what it
is
is.
it? Wintergreen.
It's got. I think it begins with an S. It's like Saratoga root or something. That's not right, but
No, I get it. Yep, I get that completely. Absolutely. So
very
you think,
savoury.
So you're thinking orange, green, and blue. So what are you thinking about? You thought yellow was American. What are you thinking about your pinks and your reds?
Well, I've gone Scandi for my pink and red. The problem is, I'd said red as being like East Asian, but the thing is like, or Taiwan or something like that. But the problem I have is a lot of Taiwanese whiskey, from what I know, is very sherried, so therefore it's probably not that. But
well, let's put you out your misery. Let's bring the bottles up. Ben, you've got 3 more to tell me. Where did you think the Yoichi is? There might be a Yoichi in the lineup tonight.
There is only one that reminded me of. It was Yoichi that you gave me in a blind test, wasn't it? There's only one that reminded me of a Japanese.
In the past,
and it was specifically that Yoichi that you gave me before, but it was only on the nose. It was when it went to the palate that I was like, nah, I've crossed it out. I was totally on a red herring here. But it was green, the one that I thought was a blend. To begin with, I was like, this has got that weird marshy peat, that soft and wetness, and it reminds me of it's not a Scotch peat to me. It's like marshland, and it was reminding me of the Yoichi. So that's the only one.
Okay.
Oof.
And the only ones I've not got notes for you on then is the red and the pink.
Red is a world whiskey. It's soft. If you care to indulge me, have you got red to hand?
I got red to hand.
Ben, I got foam. I got saccharin and foam sweets off this.
I've got down.
Do you know what I mean
soft,
though? Off the nose.
Yeah. Vanilla sponge near a campfire. It's a very background smoke. Again, this is one of those where if you hadn't told me to look for peat, I probably would have skirted around it. There's a minerality and a soft kind of saltiness. It's mellowing on some smoked woods, a hint of linseed oil, marshmallows, confectionery, foamy, but not a flavored foam. It reminds me of those banana foam sweets, but without the banana flavor, if that makes sense.
So just a confectionery. I mean, we're getting quite synthetic with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, total
Soft
synthetic.
rubber.
Yeah, I get that.
A soft rubber. But then on the palate, it all disappears. It all dissipates. I lose it. It goes thinner, way thinner than expected. It's a bit fruity and fresh. That initial sip was quite nice. It was uplifting, fruity and fresh. And the peat becomes very subdued. That smokiness basically dissipates for me. My palate is very peat acclimated, so that probably has something to do with it.
Yeah.
Red berries, soft and very thin on the finish.
Yeah,
So
I'm with you on the very thin.
You put red in last place as well. Sevi put it second from last. Where did you put pink? You put pink midfield, third place. What's your thoughts on pink then? Just that's the last one we need from you before I can tell you what they are.
Pink, another world whiskey. It's reminiscent of Irish to me. Again, confectionery, sweetness, possibly like strawberry laces and cedarwood. Very gentle and soft earthiness. That's all I'm getting in the way of peat. Again, it's one where
I find pink to be by far the sweetest thing on the menu tonight.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've got fragrant sugars. I've got fruitiness. There's a lot of sweetness going on. And then
And
interestingly,
I also find it to be the okayest, but that would suggest that's not in a negative sense. I know that Sevi didn't get on with this. He's suspicious it's not even whiskey.
heavy on the woody.
Woody, yeah, you're getting
Yeah.
oak as well. So I mean, I think it's a good thing, but I think we're all agreeing that it's probably standing out in this lineup. It is standing out quite significantly from the others. I think Jeff's Whiskey Lounge has bought another wee dram to opening a bottle of MB Roland Dark Fired Bourbon. Uses fire roasted corn in the mash bill for a heavily smoked meaty flavour. Corn is one of the hardest things to smoke, as I understand, because it's got such a hard, glossy outer coating. Quite amazing. Orange Will is saying that Sevi, it looks like you're sucking lemons.
yeah, sorry. Don McCausland as well has asked me if I'm okay. It really, I don't know what the pink. It just gives me mega Jaeger. I don't know whether it's the oak, but the first thing
you
that
like what you like, buddy. There's no need. There's
finding this
nothing
tough.
invested in any of these drams. I just need your opinion on them. I just need your honest opinion.
Sultriness, solventiness. It kind of reminiscent of cough drops to me. And I totally get.
You're talking about the pink, right?
Yeah, the association that you have with Jägermeister, I totally get it. When you come at it from that solventy, cough droppy type of syrup.
This pink one to me is a revelation for me. I've hit quite a big chunk out of this bottle, and I've been enjoying it a lot. What's striking to me, and it's happening tonight, is that when you drink it in a lineup with other Scotch whiskies, with other whiskies, forget I just said that, if you put it in a lineup with other Scotches, it suddenly takes on a different element. And I think that that's what's happening tonight. I think if Sevi and Ben were sat in here with us just relaxing and I poured 3 drams of this and then another 3 drams, I think we would be quite happy enjoying it, and we would be. But I think what's happening is we're getting into these really dry, really peaty, really quite defined flavours, and then coming back to this sweet oaky thing. With solvent in there, I get it completely. There's a bit of bubblegum in there for me too.
Yeah.
And I think that that jarring contrast doesn't do it any favours. However, let's tell you what's in the lineup tonight. Let's just reveal. Everybody in the chat knows what it is. They also know what the colours are. The link that I'm dropping in, by the way, for everyone that's watching live, will take you to so that you can see that. Let's start to reveal. I'll just grab the one that's nearest first. This is Connemara. This is peated Irish whiskey. This is quite a unique Irish whiskey because it's peated, of course, but also because it's a double distilled Irish whiskey. This is 40% ABV. This is the lightest that we have tonight, and it costs between £30-35, something of that order. So as soon as I think there are other peated options or other smoky, let's say, options starting to come from Ireland now, and it's going to be interesting. Because if I think of peated, there's lots of peat bogs in Ireland, as I understand it. If you think of peated Irish, this is the whiskey I think of. Years ago, I tried this and thought I would never go back. But I'm trying this and discovering that either it's much better or I've changed, because this is okay to me. This is not the best whiskey in the lineup, I don't think, not by a long way. In fact, I think I've put it in last place in my lineup. I have, but it's still, I've only given you whiskies that I consider worthy. This is still, despite the 40%, it's still an interesting whiskey. I think it's the softest tonight. Are you surprised to see an Irish in there? I know that Ben thinks there's an Irish in there, but Sevi, maybe you not.
I certainly didn't put it as an Irish. Sorry, did you tell us what the colour was there? Because I kind of glitched for a wee second.
No, I'm not going to tell you what the colour is yet. So you need to write down what I'm lifting up so that you can try and do a wee matchup. So Connemara. Next one, I'm going to look for your reactions to this. Ardbeg 10.
That bodes well.
Well, it does bode well. It does bode well. Quite
You
incredible.
need to change your name, Ben, to the Whisky Savant. That sounds better.
Savant. That's right, absolutely. That's why he keeps getting invites back here, by the way. I think the boy's incredible. I'll hold up this one now as well. Yoichi. Now, I gave this one away. You knew Yoichi was in the lineup because of my tongue slip. You don't know what colour it is, of course, but Yoichi. Now, here's a wee surprise for you. Inchmoen from Loch Lomond. I need this to focus. So this is the Peated Loch Lomond. Is a 12-year-old, 46% ABV. It does say unchill filtered on the label. It's about the same price. Despite its natural presentation, it's about the same price as that Connemara, about the £35 mark. 12 years old. Age statement as well. The Connemara is, of course, a non-age statement.
That's labelled single malt, which means it hasn't touched a coffee still, right?
Inchmoen is made from partially, there's Swan Neck distillate in there, and there's Straight Neck pot stills in there as well, but no continuous still. It is a single malt. Inchmoen is basically Loch Lomond's peaty take. Inchmurren is their fruity take, which is all from Straight Neck pot stills, I believe. Inchmoen has a little bit of Swan Neck pot stills in there, and obviously it's heavily peated malt as well. Here's another wee surprise for you. This is Glasgow's 1770 peated. Now, Sevy's shocked that I've bought this because I've been complaining about this for a long time because it's a 50 cl bottle.
I know.
And I always felt that I wanted to support Glasgow Distillery. And as time's gone on, their whiskey is getting better and better and better. But this is one of the expensive options here tonight because if you take this £49 for this 50 cl and then work out what it would cost for a 70 cl, you work out that you're up close to the price of the one of the most expensive ones here tonight, the Yoichi. So it's a big ask. And yet, every time I try this Peated 1770, I'm blown away. I think it's a wonderful dram, and I think it's unique.
What ABV was that, sorry?
46.
46.
It's 46. So
Do you know, Roy,
apart from Connemara and Yoichi is 45, all the rest are 46 tonight, except for this one. This is the only high ABV one I'm going to hold up. And this is the one from left field. This is the Unobtainium. This is Shelter Point. This is Canadian. This is from the west coast of Canada. This is from Shelter Point. This is their Smoke Point whiskey. Now, I believe that what Shelter Point have done here is matured this whiskey in ex-Isla casks. So that's where their smoke element is coming from. So I don't think this is peated malt. This is, and it doesn't say single malt whiskey either. And the reason for that is that, and this is fascinating too, there's much in the same way as single pot still Irish, I believe there to be some unmalted barley used in this mash as well. So it doesn't say single malt anywhere.
I've never heard of Shelter Point. Where's it from?
Shelter Point is Canadian.
What is it? Are we talking West Coast, East Coast? Do we know?
West Coast, I think it's British Columbia. And the Canadian YouTubers, Canadian reviewers are going nuts over it. They're loving it. This is their smoky take. It's the only one I've got. It's a gift from Graham Young to me. Otherwise, we would not be able to buy this. If you search in the Whisky Exchange, well, I didn't search a Whisky Exchange, but I think I looked in Master of Malt for Shelter Point. You're not even going to get a result coming up. It's Unobtainium here, but I wanted to put it in the mix because they've brought out a Smoke Point whiskey.
Crown Royal is my only point of reference for Canadian whiskey.
What was that?
Crown Royal is my only point of reference for Canadian whiskey.
Well, you know what, Ben? I'm not going to make any judgment on you for that at all because I think that the good quality Canadian stuff stays in Canada. We don't get much of it here at all. The Canadian whiskies that we get to connect with are fairly pedestrian things. Oh, Michael Henry's in. Michael, good to see you. He's saying Inchmoen 12 is 50 ppm fennel malted barley distilled 3 different ways in pot stills, matured individually and combined together at 12 years old. I hope the pot stills. So when he talks about the 3 different ways, he's probably talking about the high strength cut and the low strength cut at Loch Lomond, the different cut points they have, the fact that the Swan Neck pot stills, the Straight Neck pot stills as well. things can get quite confusing for us at Loch Lomond. It's good to have you in, Michael, to keep us straight. Thanks very much. Richard Agnew saying Shelter Point even have 3 to 4 different expressions of peated whiskies. Wow. All very, very small scale, and none of it leaves Canada. Go ahead, Sebi.
Sorry, I just hope I haven't...
We've
frozen.
The hamsters have gone again.
Yeah. Well, he's frozen in a perfect place. Let's see if he pops. Oh, there he is. He's back again. Sebi, you good?
Sorry, I'm back. Sorry, yeah, I'm saying... I hope. Yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened there. That's the Eaglesham hamster has obviously taken a break on the wheel.
Don't worry.
Keep the internet going. But yeah, I'm saying that now that Michael's in, I hope I haven't badmouthed the Loch Lomond, because I don't fancy fighting Michael. Hopefully, it's been one of the ones that I put near the top.
He won't mind at all. Don't worry about it.
I'm only kidding. Kidding.
But it's good that these whiskey makers are barflies too, and that they bring a bit of knowledge to into the lounge as well. And Jimmy Legg is saying, "Oh, he's frozen because he was about to say something bad."
The thing is, I got a Sauterne. I actually got, I was wondering. Sorry to ask you, but see the 1770. That's not one of the new kind of crazy expressions that the Glasgow they did 3 different Sauterne.
No, the 1770 is the standard peated expression. Well,
okay.
To say crazy, I think it's unique, as I've already mentioned. Ben's notes on it. You thought it had an American lick to it, Sevi. You talked about the barbecue, the sweet barbecue sauce thing. Ben thought it had a wee bit of a Highland peat thing going on about it. Am I giving things away here? Am I just telling you? I'm matching it up. I think
I've already scribbled my answers down. So
yeah, so
I'd already put it there anyway. Actually, when I'd seen it, that's actually where I feel officially that I'd put it there. So I was quite surprised.
I have a prediction that regardless, I think that our Ben Whiskey Geek is going to kick it out the park tonight. Ben, if you've already written down your answers, give me what you think each one is.
Right, I'll start with pink, because pink was the one that I thought was Irish.
Tell me how much you think it is, and just for kicks, how much would you pay for a bottle?
I'd probably pay about 40 quid. 40 quid seems fair.
Okay.
And on the basis of Crown Royal being my point of reference, I think this one is more Canadian than red, and they were the only ones I was unsure of. So I've labelled pink as the Canadian, the Western Point, was it?
Smoke Point, from Shelter Point, yes.
And then red as the Irish, despite me being convinced that, I really wanted pink to be an Irish before, but red is just as much Irish profile to me as the pink was. So I've put them that way around. Okay. Then I've got green in as the Yoichi, kind of helped along with that one.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, but okay. Well, maybe I helped you. Maybe I didn't. Okay.
I've got blue in as the Loch Lomond. I am glad I've got quite a bit of that left, because I want to spend some time with it. Because, can I give you my tasting notes, just because I found it a really interesting whiskey to come to?
Me too. Go ahead.
So initially spirity, with a layer of smoked hazelnut over a catching treacle, or a burning pecan pie, like singed pastry and pecan pie.
Why are you not working in distilling? Are you pick up the blue, Sevi, and tell me you're not getting hazelnut? That's incredible.
I'm even getting hazelnut. I haven't even tried it.
There's a peculiar kind of wood polish, a touch solventy.
Yeah, I'm getting the wood polish. Yep. Definitely getting the hazelnut.
It's rich.
I still get white wine. Off this. I don't know why.
Whatever peat influence there is, I find it's very well integrated with this cask heavy character, kind of charred, solvency cask character. And then on the palate again, I get burnt pecan pie, umami, and solvency into the finish. Dry wood, smoky with a ginger prickle on the finish. And I found it very unusual in a good way though.
Okay, let's continue then. You thought that that's the Loch Lomond blue. Okay, you think it was that blue? You thought that?
Yes.
Right. That leaves 2 more, Ben.
I've already committed to orange being Ardbeg, so that leaves yellow.
Process elimination. You think that the yellow is the 1770?
Yeah.
Severin, my friend, fellow bottle chaser. How are we doing here? What do you think?
Well, I have to say, like, just before we
Does
go on,
any of that
Ben,
summary that Ben's just given, do you want to disagree with any of it?
not at all, not at all. What I was going to say though is, I think, Ben, you know these, like, is it the ANPR things which help you get to sleep, the kind of the soft talking. I think if there was ever to be a whiskey version of that, Ben could do that just with his just with his tasting notes. Imagine just of the way he describes his whiskey. If he says it in a nice soft voice, that would just like lull a whiskey enthusiast into just absolute
time and time again.
Yeah,
and I've seen it here live. You know, people can talk about, oh yeah, Ben's clicked on the link in the live lounge and things, and he's had a look. But let me tell you, pish, that's not happened. I've seen it here live. He's done it time and time again. And any time he's been off is justifiable and understandable. Ben, that's why I was bummed when you had a hiatus, you'll remember, and I'm glad to have you back in the scene again. And I agree with Lucas. Ben really should get a job offer in the industry, but it would mean he would have to move potentially further away. I don't know how that would work out for him. Sebi, what would you give?
Super easy.
Are you just going to say same as Ben, or are you going to disagree with anything?
Pretty much what the way I did it. I will be quick because I know everybody likes me to kind of be a bit more concise. I started immediately, went 70-70 for yellow. I agree, obviously, after I have to say, I was influenced by Ben about the Ardbeg for the orange, which surprised me because I don't usually like Ardbeg that much, I have to say. Yoichi and Loch Lomond fell in, and I have to say I guessed at the red and the pink, and I've just been very lucky that I've got it the right way around. So yes, I have completely agreed with Ben.
You're both absolutely on the money, spot on, absolutely. 1770 is this is the darkest in the lineup, and that's because it's finished in Pedro Jimenez casks. So you're gonna know that this was what it is. I have found this to be quite a compelling dram in its own right. I can't recommend it easily on the price. If it's comfortable for you to buy this, it's a 50 CL at £48. You're not going to be disappointed. I think it's an incredible whiskey. I've said it before. I think it's unique. Are you enjoying it? Yeah.
I'm amazed. Yeah. I'm amazed because I was a wee bit critical of the Glasgow kind of the original 1770. I thought it needed a bit more time, but the fact that this
they've had
maybe
the
only
time
2 or 3 late
7-year-old whiskey now. I think that this is what we're starting to see in the vatings now. We're starting to see better whiskies coming out. Still a bit pricey. It's not an easy recommendation in 50 CL bottles. I get it, but that to me, I've had miniatures of it, I've had samples of it, and every time I said no, I'm just going to buy a bottle, and you can see I'm enjoying it. I know I've shared it out. I'll tell you what I think the best value one is.
It certainly piqued my excitement. Yeah.
The pink, you guys were spot on. Your tasting notes for it clearly stands out as something that is not Scotch. Interestingly, you both, in terms of picking out the Scotch from the world whiskies, you both did. Ben got it absolutely spot on. I think, Sebi, you got 2 out of the 3. So it's obvious that there is still a differentiator there, or something that we're drawn to that makes us recognise what the Scotch is. And I think it's, for me, you could go down as many tasting note rabbit holes as you like, but there's a sense of familiarity with the Scotch whiskies. And as soon as you're presented with whatever note it is that's not familiar, that's when you're drawn to the potentially being a non-Scotch, and that's what caught Sevi out with the 1770. That Pedro Jimenez finish made him think that potentially it could be a world whiskey. But on this this pink, I think it's a cracking whiskey. I think you need to be careful. This style of whiskey, not just this Shelter Point or whatever it may be. If I'm talking about Cavalan, I'm talking about anything from Nantu, another Taiwanese distillery. I'm talking about Japanese whiskies even, and I'm talking about European whiskies. You need to be careful what you drink them alongside, because they can give you a sense of solvent that comes, and it happens with bourbon with me too. And it's not because it's solventy, it's because when you contrast it with Scotch, it brings out that solventy side, that oakiness, that woodiness. And I think that's what's happened here tonight as well. But it's also the one with the softest, lowest amount of peat. This one here was the red. Again, the problem with the red, Ben, I think Sevy's frozen again. Let's drop him out until he comes back. I think the problem with our red here tonight is that, I can see Cousin Kevin's in, but it looks like he's on a train. I can't bring him in because I don't want to ruin it for him. Kevin, don't watch this. You can play this when you go home. Kevin was supposed to be participating tonight, or potentially. We'll bring him in a wee bit later, but he's been working late tonight. The problem with the red, I think, was it's soft. It's the softest here tonight. It's the lightest. I think it suffers a wee bit from where it's pointed at. It's a mass market whiskey at 40%. It's meant to be soft and easy to drink, and it is that. But for me, I was surprised nobody talked about green apple on this. Sharp. Did you get any apple notes? Did you mention it?
Yeah, on the palate, I've got some pip fruits in there, orchard fruits. But it was only on that first sip that it was really prominent, and then it mellowed quite rapidly and became quite thin for me. But I think
specifically for me, the tart sharpness you get from a green Granny Smith. That's what it's. And every time I go back, I think that's what would help me pick this out, and the low ABV on it. That was the one I put in my least favorite, just because of the engagement perspective. Let's bring in let's bring in Sevy and Kevin quickly. No, is he in?
No, he's in.
He's all over the place. He's all over the place. Are you still in a train? That's not going to work, is it?
Kevin's on a train out to Eaglesham for me to join me for my router.
He's coming out to have a word with you.
I've switched to a different phone, so hopefully this is a little bit better. Hopefully this will work.
Apparently, Cousin Kevin got called up to break up a birthday party that's been going on for over a week now. I no doubt he's been up to his armpits in trouble. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, Kevin. You were frozen when I brought you in there, my friend. Right, okay, let's wrap this up then. I think we've got green. You picked this out. You thought it was an old blend. You talked about it not being jagged, Ben. You talked about it being rounded out. That's exactly what the Japanese whiskies do so well, don't they? Yeah. They bring this lovely, complex, balanced thing, no jagged edges, everything rounded out, but not by engineering, but by blending. Even their single malts are blended like this. Uncanny that you picked that out. And Sevy has declared this tonight as beautiful. This is clearly our favourite of the night. It's one of my favourites, but I didn't put it as my favourite. I put it as my second favourite. And that is the new Guardian of Islay. If Lagavulin 16 is £70 a bottle now, okay, this is 6 years younger. 6 years younger. This is natural. It's not chill filtered. It's natural colour. It's everything that we want at 46% ABV. And it's a good £20 cheaper typically. Now, I remember a time when I could pick up our Big 10 for 35, but those days are gone. You're speaking about high 40s now for our Big 10, typically. But this, I've said it for a while now, is the new Guardian of Islay. If you're looking for an Islay whiskey, you're going to get an all-natural product. You're going to pour it in a glass, you'll hold it up, and you'll say, oh, this is as pale as Chardonnay, right? It's absolutely. Literally as white wine. Ben, you've said this is your favourite tonight. Super complex. You were able to even pick out because of the unique distillation through to condensation, which is incredible to me, that it was our Big 10. Unbelievable, Ben. Sevy, you declared this to be a beautiful dram tonight.
I think for me as well, with we've had in a couple of blinds the Ardbeg for discussion, which really surprised me. Really, really enjoyed the Ardbeg for discussion. So I don't have an Ardbeg 10, which people might think a shock, but I certainly will be buying one now.
Because you'll rectify it now.
Well, it's really surprised me. It's really surprised me.
They've got enough depths of stock that we can buy it. Now, it is out of stock on a couple of online retailers now, but our Big 10, you're not going to be chasing yourselves to buy. So I think it's done very well tonight. It's clearly the favourite tonight. If we talk about the favourites tonight, our Big 10 does very, very well. The other one that did very, very well, Ben put it in the middle, Sevy second. I picked it as my favourite, and the only reason it beat Ardbeg is that this blue is 35 quid. Loch Lomond, Inchmone. Scotty Monroe's away on a camping trip. What's the whiskey he's packed and taken with him? Loch Lomond, Inchmone 12, right? He knows. This is unique whiskey. Ben talked about it being interesting. Sevi, you were like, there were compelling things in here that were commanding your attention. This is not an easy one to drink. And can I tell you, I've put no water in this, but this has gone hazy now. Yeah. So we know that chill filtration thing is spot on. 35 quid.
I am, one of the things about Loch Lomond just now, and it's not just the distillery bottles, the independent bottlers, the SMWS, the different independent Loch Lomonds you can get are fantastic. They're being talked about so much because they give so much depth, so much variety. It's honestly, it's one of the, not just because Michael's here, but at the same time, there is so much that it's giving people to enjoy, to try different things. I have to say, I can't rave about it enough.
And I tell you what,
I've got 3 Kevins in the VIP room, in the green room here. 3 different feeds from him. He's having huge problems in the background, but he's on a train, so he can't dram along with us anyway tonight. I agree with you, Sevi. Quite incredible. To summarise, I think Ardbeg 10 has done tremendously well tonight. I'd be interested to see what Frank's was. I've been missing it. I've missed the chat. But it'd be interesting to see how he got on with it tonight as well. Interestingly, I didn't include any Campbelltown whiskies tonight. I included a Lowland whiskey in the Glasgow 1770. I included an Islay in Ardbeg and also a Highlander in the Loch Lomond. A Canadian, an Irish, and a Japanese. I think we should do this again because there are so many places to go. That's why the thumbnail said Peatfest 2022. I think you could develop this and move it forward and see how people are using different ways to smoke whiskey in the future and talk about the different ways it's doing it and then ask the question, is it good value? The winner tonight is Ardbeg, but what's the winner? What's the winner value? It's Loch Lomond. It's that Inchmore. 35 quid. It's the same price as the cheapest tonight, the Connemara, 34, 33 for the Connemara. Loch Lomond is 35. Ben called it interesting. He wants more. He wants to spend time with it. It's pretty compelling. I think Glasgow, the 1770 has done really well. I think the world whiskies have all been interesting, but I think they stood out as being world whiskies tonight. I think that was the most interesting takeaway. That's not a negative thing, but it is definitely a differentiator.
I think for me to see the 1770, that 1770 for me has been, for me personally, I think the one that surprised me the most tonight. But simply because of what I've remembered from having the Glasgow distillery before, and even though it started quite high and it kind of dropped down in the flight, it really is a revelation compared to what I remember it when I tasted that first time at the Glasgow Whisky Festival in, I think, 2017 or 18. It's night and day better. Absolutely. And I'm quite excited to try
I agree.
Some of the other expressions.
And I had to give in and just buy a bottle. But I have to caveat it with the 50cl bottle and the price. And I know that if anybody's watching, if Liam or the team are watching from Glasgow Distillery, they'll be pissed off that I keep mentioning it. But it is a bugbear with me, and if I don't say it, I don't think I'm being fair to the community. Know what you're getting into. It's not a 70cl bottle, it is a 50cl. So you have to fathom that into the price. But it's a compelling dram. That Peated Glasgow is a compelling whiskey, and I've said it a few times tonight, it's unique. Ben, I hope you can stay for the quiz tonight.
Yep.
Because he's going to kill us at the quiz as well, Sevi, and then we'll just give up. We won't give him pop-up vPubs anymore. He can just start hosting the vPub. Sevi, I know that you and I had planned to maybe do, but let's keep it neat tonight. We've got an hour and a half. Let's not do this at Speyside. We'll do it with Menno, and then I'll bring you guys back in for a quiz, and we'll try and wrap it up on the 2 hour mark. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds fine. I can deal with that. That's fine. Perfect.
Perfect. I'll see you in a wee minute, guys. See you shortly.
Cheers, Roy.
Right, let's see how many of these Kevins are actually Kevin and how many are him. Okay, that one's frozen. That one's frozen. Let's drag down a bit. Right, okay, he's got his thumb up in this one. Buddy, I'm so sorry you had to work too late and you couldn't join us tonight. Can I make a suggestion to you if you can hear me? You can't hear me either, can you?
I can hear you, yes.
I'm just going to say this in the hope that you can hear me. In the future, when you've got a night that you're actually going to be settled and you don't have to potential working late.
A wee bit of a dodgy signal, but I can hear you.
Yeah, good. So we'll set you up again. We'll get some drams in front of you for the next time. Thanks for your service, big guy. You're just to let everybody know, Kevin's a policeman, and he had to work a wee bit late tonight to deal with some issues, so he couldn't join us for the Whiskies. Kevin Grant on Whisky is doing his own YouTube reviews out there. He's doing his own thing on YouTube under Kevin Grant on Whisky. And buddy, I'll see you. I'm obviously going to see you here to have a dram with you soon, but I'll see you. I'll have you back in to participate in something in the future. You get yourself home safe and crack open these drams when you get back and see what you think of them, buddy, okay?
I had some smells when I got in, when you gave it them. I had some smells this morning when I came out, and then I got a last minute call to come in. A little bit frustrating, and I have the red, blue, and orange as my favourites.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just coming in just now as my favourites, and I believe they're the Scotch. So, Hillary
that's interesting.
Hillary's watching just now. She sent me a screenshot, so I can't leave the screen without leaving the full chat. I've got all my tasting notes, all my smells, everything I smelled from that, and they were my three, I believe, that were
tell you what
my
to do
Scotch.
Then. When you get a moment, in the comments under the video, leave it underneath. I can tell you, as a wee hint, you've got 2 out of 3, right?
Okay.
All right, buddy.
Right,
I'll put
them in just now. Apologies again. I really wanted to get involved.
There's nothing to apologise for. You're doing your work first, and that's the most important thing. Listen, I appreciate you dropping in. I missed you tonight, fella. I'll see you next time, all right?
I'll be there next week. If you need me next week, I'll be there. I apologise again. I wanted to be there and get everyone involved with it. I really love my peaty stuff. So, doing a great job as always. It's good to see Seb and everyone else in here, and good to see him without a different shirt on tonight than usual.
You get home safe, buddy. All right, take care, Kev.
Cheers, Roy. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Aye. Law enforcement and the issues that come with that. Let's go over to Belgium and our pal who sits in the background and does a fantastic job for us. We all get excited. We all get a wee bit scared. We all get a wee bit worried when there's a Menno quiz. But let's be honest, it's just great fun, and it's good for me because I get to participate, and there's less prep for the vPub for me too. Menno, how are you doing, my friend? How are you, Menno?
All good. Cheers.
I know that you're having a night off tonight. You had some wine with dinner, but it's not a whiskey night for you. You're only here to provide us with tea, of course. You're only here to provide us with a Menno quiz at the end, and also because you fancied being the sniper tonight in a wee game of Visit a Speyside.
Yeah, if I'm gonna make you sweat with the quiz, it's only fair. I'll be doing a bit of the sweating myself, trying to snipe you.
See, you're a good guy. You're a good guy. Very thoughtful too. Fantastic. We're at 1 hour 37 tonight. I'm going to try and keep it a wee bit tight tonight. Wonderful. Please stay if you want to enjoy a bit of fun with Menno's quiz at the end. But now we're going to have a wee chance, give people in the lounge a wee chance to win one of these sniper coins. Now, what did I do? I've been playing with my coins tonight, so I need to find where the sniper one is. The sniper coin can only be one playing along here. So if you're in the chat tonight, you can win one of these wee glass toppers to top off your whiskey. It's just a wee kudos token, really. If you're the first to guess the whiskey that I have hidden off to the side. Now, recently I've been guessing everything. It's me that's been the sniper every time. But tonight, Menno's the sniper and I'm the target. So he's got 10 questions and I can only answer yes or no. And he has to work out which core range Scotch single malt whiskey I'm hiding to my left-hand side here. Menno, let's pick up the counter and take it away.
Okay.
Add this in. Buddy,
okay.
Good luck when you're ready,
Cheers.
my friend.
Is it the Speyside?
Yes.
Is it one of the big four?
So by big four, we mean Grants, Edrington, Diageo, or Pernod Ricard?
Yep.
No.
Okay. Is it the Glen?
Ooh, good question. No.
Okay, it's not a Glen. It's not one of the big four. It's a Speyside. Ooh. Let's see. Where do I take it from here? Does it have an age statement?
Yes.
Okay. Is it 46% ABV or higher?
Ooh, good question. Yes.
Oh. Boom, boom, boom. So 46% ABV. No, so I'm ruling out Ben Romach. Is it a Is it a 12-year-old?
Ooh. Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna snipe here. So not one of the big four, 12-year-old, 46% ABV, and the space side. Is it Ben Riach?
Yes.
Okay. Is it the Smoky 12?
No.
Oh. Is it a regular 12?
Let me see this here. Look. Yes, superb, Menno. Wonderful. See, this is an easy game, really. This is an easy. More people should be. You'd still had 2 questions in the bag as well. 2 questions still to go. More people should be coming on and playing the sniper game. Well done. Absolutely well done. I'm trying to see who got it. Richard Hall's got it. But some Jimmy Legg said, oh, Ben Riach 12. It might be Jimmy Legg. I think people were all over the place. Speyburns were, everybody thought Speyburn. Oh, Whisky 101 said Ben Riach, but he said the Smoky 10. So I think maybe Jimmy Legg might have sneaked that tonight. Jimmy Legg, you might have just won yourself a sniper coin. Fantastic stuff. Menno, that's impressive. Well done, buddy. Well done.
Cheers.
Good questioning. I picked a space side. Maybe that was my problem tonight. Never. You've got a nice quiz for us. Let's see if the Sebbies and the Bens are in good shape to come in and participate in our quiz at the end. Have you got a screen share for us, Menno?
Let me pull it up.
Sebby, Ben. Strapped in, lads. Strapped in for a brutal Menno quiz.
I just need to do my ABCs.
Captain Bamus, or Bamus Bamus, I think. Captain Bamus, that looks like a new name. He's in Aquavita. Yes, it's easy, just like the quizzes, I know. And Helen is thinking that it's Jimmy Legg. Fantastic. Terrific stuff. Helen, I'm going to get you to start helping me with a space side spreadsheet as well. Are you up for that? Greg's Whiskey Guide is in saying you should definitely add another one, Roy. Beam Suntory. Oh, I suppose. Gordon Fraser is saying Speyburn 15. No, Gordon, unfortunately, it was Ben Riach tonight. Fantastic. Menno's brought it in. So obviously, Menno is hosting the quiz tonight. It's all still optional. Of course, you don't need to share your scores if you don't want to. You're just playing against yourself. So be as honest as you possibly can. It's all multiple choice, 10 questions. And there's usually a couple of banana skins and certainly at least one asshat. How many asshats tonight have we got, Menno?
Oh, officially one.
Officially one. Okay, let's see.
Jimmy Legg is suggesting you should send a coin to someone else. Might I suggest you send it to Denise Lee, the birthday girl?
Denise has on the way. She actually got one donated to her last year. But because my son had COVID, I couldn't leave the house. So I dropped it into the post box. Nice, Sevy. I dropped it into the post box. And the rest of them that I did that has made it. But Denise's is still out in the ether. But I sent this week a replacement package to Denise that she'll get this week. So no worries. I'm sending it over to Jimmy Legg. He's going to get one to give to Angela. There you go, Jimmy. Okay, buddy, you take it away when you're ready. We're all strapped in. We need a piece of paper, don't we?
Yep.
Fold it up.
The ABCs.
With ABC on it so we can all play along. Fantastic. When you're ready, go ahead, Menno.
Okay, question 1. Which distillery releases peated whiskey in its contrast series? Would that be A. Tormore, B. Speyside, or C. Ben Romach?
I'm good with this one. Feeling confident.
Okay.
Are you easing us
Then-
into it?
Yeah. Answers in 3, 2, 1. We got all C's. And of course, you're all correct.
3C.
Contrast series is from Ben Romach. Okay, question 2. The 2018 release of Elsa Bay Sweet Smoke is remarkable. Why? Is it because A, it was the first ever peated single malt released by Grants? Is it B, the phenolic content mentioned on the label is that of the distilled liquid rather than of the peated barley? Or is it C, it was initially meant as a test run for what was to become Glenfiddich Fire and Cane?
All of those could be true, to be honest.
Yes.
Menno.
That's the idea.
That's
the
the
idea
idea of the quiz, specifically the Menno quiz.
Menno, I want you to have an answer in the quiz which is all of the above. Just put a D as all of the above.
See, he had it. The last Menno quiz had an all of the above, Sevi.
Oh, did it? Oh, damn it.
Give us the
Okay,
countdown, big guy.
answers in 3, 2, 1. We've got B, B, B. There's no fooling you so far tonight. Well done. Okay, then on to question 3. As Pernod Ricard has no distilleries on Islay, which distillery provides them with peated spirit for their blends? Is it A, they produce it themselves at Altavania? Is it B, they buy it from Diageo at Colilla? Or is it C, they don't use any peated spirits?
Oh, I think I'm going to have to guess this one.
I must admit that I'm wobbling. I'm going to go with it, but I'm wobbling.
Okay, you ready to commit?
Yeah.
In 3, 2, 1. You're going with A. We got a B and a B. Well, it's A, Roy. Well done. Sorry, Sevi. I'm sorry, Ben.
I can't imagine Pernod Ricard and Diageo are very comfortable bedfellows.
No,
that's a
I
good,
don't
that's
think
a good
so.
point, actually, Roy. Very good point.
Indeed, they're probably not. Okay, on to question 4. How much of Scotland's surface consists of peatlands?
Oh my goodness.
A lot.
Is that A, 2%? Is that B, 12%? Or is it C, 36%?
Wow.
Where do you even find this information, Menno? Like, I wouldn't even know where to
If I
start.
am
The
correct tonight, I'm going to point everybody to the Andy Bell Aaron video that I have already mentioned. It'll be linked in the description box below. But I might still get this wrong, so
I got it from a Michael Jackson book, in fact.
terrific.
Answers in 3, 2, 1. B, B, B. Beehive buzzing, and well done, all of you. It's 12%.
Greg is contesting. He's in the Hub. Greg's Whiskey Guide. Good to have you in, Greg, in Paris. Even if you're contesting it, it's fine, buddy. Yeah, lots of barflies got that one right. Oh, lots of them thought that it was 36%. Yeah. I'm glad it's not 36%. Mikey Hazen, good to see you, Mikey. Continue, Menno. Sorry, please.
No. Okay, then we're on to the picture question already. So
Oh,
I'm
superb.
not asking you which distillery it is. I'm asking you, where are we? Are we A, in Sweden, B, in Scotland, or C, in Japan?
Terrific.
All of the above?
I love that I know this one. I love it. And is that a bit of a Photoshop job that you've done there, Menno?
Yeah, I made a bit of a mess of it, but it's my attempt at photoshopping.
Good job.
Nobody likes a gloat, Roy, when you say, like, for example, I know this one, whereas I'm just sitting here going,
listen. I'm always so nervous. I'm the guy that's usually hosting these things, so I'm the one that's easy to I'll have the reddest face, literally and figuratively speaking, if we get things wrong. So I'm always very comfortable when I feel like I've got it right. Go ahead, Menno.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Jimmy's onto something, I think, in the chat. We're B, 2 B's in the C. You think you know this one, Roy?
It's Torvik.
Absolutely. Terrific. Well done.
I honestly thought that the topography of the mountains in the background was definitely Japan.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Definitely Scotland. You're doing pretty well so far, I think.
Yeah, I think you're being kind. 4 out of 5 for Graham Fraser tonight. Spiritworks Thomas, good to see you. And Tommy saying pish on a 2 out of 5. And Helen's already got a pass mark on a 5 out of 5. Well done.
Well done.
So Alan, too, superb. Go ahead.
Okay. Question 6. Which of these claims about Port Ellen is not true?
I'm noticing a theme tonight, Menno. Fantastic.
Do you now?
Yeah.
Okay, is it A, they were the first to use duty-free warehouses? Is it B, they were the first to introduce a spirit safe? Or is it C, they were the first to use a pagoda roof?
They were definitely
See,
the first to do something.
You learn something on Menno quizzes too. That's amazing.
So 2 of these are true. 1 of these I made up. You ready?
I know one. So by the power of deduction, yes. Okay, I think I've got this. Okay.
Haven't a clue.
3, 2, 1. Answers, please. C, C, and C. Well done, all of you.
It seemed like the least logical.
Dalyun was the first to have a Doig ventilator.
Yep, absolutely. Question 7 then. This is an interesting one, I think. When the rulers of Islay in the late 18th century found that then capital Killaloe became too crowded, they did what? Was it A, they commissioned a large-scale land clearance to convert peat bogs into farmland? Was it B, they prohibited the production of consumption of whiskey on Islay to get rid of people? Or it C, they built Beaumont and moved the entire population there?
Nah, see, that sounds like something that Menno would have made up there, actually. That sounds...
This is probably my favorite question of the evening.
It's excellent. Menno, your questions are always excellent. This is an excellent question.
I think, Menno, if you had...
Land clearances, they prohibited whiskey, or they built a town. Okay. Sugar Kitty is saying, what WTF? It's wonderful though, isn't it? Go ahead.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Answers, please. We got a C, an A, and a C. Well, Sevi, I'm sorry to inform you that indeed they just built the town of Beaumont and moved everybody there.
Do you know, I thought that was too obvious. I literally thought, see, because you put a banana skin there, I thought, it can't be C. It can't be C because that sounds like a logical thing to do. But you got me.
Then sorry, the banana skin was the banana skin then. Apologies. Okay, question 8. The legendary malt mill distillery built within Lagavulin in 1908 was an exact copy of which other distillery? Was it A, of Lagavulin itself? Was it B, Lefroy? Or was it C, Hazelburn?
Restless Peter Mackey.
So, which distillery did he replicate with the malt mill distillery? Ben's ready to commit, I think. Sevi's still on the fence a bit.
Go for it, big guy.
Okay.
Go for it.
3, 2, 1. We've got B, B, B. Well done, all of you. It is Lefroy. Now,
I was second guessing myself is the fact that it can't surely be Lagavulin within Lagavulin. That just doesn't sound right.
Surely they would just increase capacity rather
That's
than
exactly right, yeah. Menno's messing with my head here, though, Roy. Menno's messing with my head.
That's what he does.
Okay, then next question. Why did Peter Mackie try to replicate Lefroy within Lagavulin? Was it A, because he wanted to buy Lefroy but got rejected by the owners? Was it B, Lefroy was in far higher demand with the blenders? Or is it C, so Lagavulin could start making unpeated whiskey?
Oh, the answer I was looking for is not there.
Do you know, Menno, what I have to say about your quizzes is the thing that is so good about them is every single answer could be right.
I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you.
You should, because I was thinking to myself, I have no idea about this, but I could pick A, B, or C and still think, yeah, that's pretty right.
Well, I'm gonna just it's a 50-50 for me. I'm gonna need to just commit and go for it.
Okay, then in 3, 2, 1. What did you think it was, Roy?
Either A or B. He lost the license to sell Lefroy, so it could have been either A or B. But I think I feel like he might have approached them to try and buy Lefroy.
Yeah, it was a weird thing. He had the license to distribute or sell Lefroy, but he didn't own it, and there was a huge dispute because the owners felt he was doing them short. So yeah, but it was indeed answer A. Well done.
Oh, terrific!
And got settled in court. Yeah. And then, of course, we have to end on a bit of an asshead question.
Well, let's see who's holding out for the 10 out of 10 tonight. Let's have a wee look. If you drop your scores in. Oh, Graham Young is on a 9 out of 9, as is David Keogh. Andrew Pearce is in. Thanks for the Dilwhinnie tonight, Andrew. I enjoyed it very much. He's on a 7. Big Man Pete is on an 8 out of 9. Good to have you in, Big Man. Graham Fraser on 7. Malt Minion and Mikey Hay. Hellswood is on 9 out of 9. Terrific. So we've got Hellswood and Graham Young and David Keogh on a 9.
I'm rooting for you to get a
Peter
10.
Peter Box, just before the asshat. Is the asshat going to rip the rug from under their feet? Dominic Fife is also on 9. Terrific stuff. Did Peter Box, did I see 9 out of 9? He did, yes, Peter Box. Fantastic. So there's a lot of potential for that big 10 emoji tonight. Let's have it.
I'm rooting for you all. Okay. Killoman has just announced a serious capacity increase, which is just paving the way for this asshat question. What is the current production capacity of all Islay distilleries combined? Is it A, about as much as the combined production capacity of all distilleries on Mull, Orkney, Jura, Arran, and Skye, so the other whiskey islands, so to speak? Is it B, about as much as all the Ben distilleries combined? Or is it C, Sevi, about as much as A and B combined?
I don't even care if it's not. It's going for C. I'm going for C.
Of all distilleries on Mull, Orkney, Jura, Arran, and Skye. Oh my goodness! About as much as the Ben distilleries combined. This is such an asshat.
I started trying to top it up in my head, and then realised that it wasn't going to be a straight answer. So there was absolutely no point.
I don't even know if this. I didn't even read the first two. As long as there was an all of the above, I'm going for all of the above.
Happy to oblige.
Obviously, this is a pure guess. I'm going to go with. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, Roy.
B.
Ooh.
There are 4 Ben distilleries currently operational. It's Ben Riach, Ben Romach, Ben Nevis, and Ben Rinnes. But
that's not big enough.
Nope. All of them combined are some 9 million, and it's answer C. Well done.
Oh, no.
Ben and Sevi.
See, Roy, just pick all of the above.
That was for my 10 out of 10.
No.
Now I know how it feels for the asshat to rob you. This is such a bitter tasting medicine. Oh no, oh no. Graham Young is celebrating 10 out of 10. Well done, Graham. I didn't get there. So absolutely superb. Anybody else manage a 10 out of 10? 9 out of 10 for Gabriel Welding. Terrific score, Gabriel. You and me together.
I've got a Len Goodman, 7.
You got a 7. Well done. Ben,
7.
how'd you get on?
I think that's my third 9 out of 10 on a menu quiz in a row.
Well done.
So did the ass hat rob you there?
No. It was one that should have been common knowledge, I guess. It was about the buying the peated malt off of.
The Alta Vanya where there's Pernod Ricard.
The Pernod Ricard. Yeah. Peter Box is celebrating a 10 out of 10 as well. Well done, Peter. Scott Allen got a 9. Tied best score ever. Great on a Menno quiz. Absolutely. I think Menno gave us a good quiz tonight. It was solid, well balanced. This was the equivalent of a Yoichi tonight, Ben. What do you think? Like, nice and rounded. Lots of good, interesting questions like you always bring, but nothing too brutal. I think it was really good tonight. What happened tonight, Ronald is saying 10 out of 10 on a Menno quiz. Well done. Fantastic. And Helen is celebrating a 10 out of 10 as well. Well, I wish I could put the 10 out of 10 emoji in, but the ass hat, I should have just processed it, but I was hovering about 20 million litres for Isla. So I thought, and I didn't think about the Ben distilleries long enough. Oh, Ben Rennis needs to up its capacity so I can get that question right.
Yep.
Terrific. Well done, Helen. Well done, everybody that got a 10 out of 10 tonight as well.
Yes, and apologies to apparently the question about how much of Scotland service is covered in peat is up for debate. I got it from a Michael Jackson book, so apologies if that proves to be incorrect.
I think they quoted 14% on
12. Yeah, well, then it's close enough.
Yeah, and which is why I went with the middle ground there.
Yeah.
But I mean, these things, I mean, you know what? If you think that you've guessed something that was counted wrong tonight, but you think it's right, you're only playing against yourself. Take the point. Just take it and count it, and it's nobody's going to argue with it. If you want to turn up every week and say you get a 10 out of 10, then great. But it doesn't feel good, does it? It feels good when you really, it's like playing golf.
Yep.
You have to do. You can't cheat yourself.
You're only cheating yourself.
That's right.
I was going to say if it was 36%, we would need a lot more wellies in Scotland. I definitely think that.
Well, that's right. At 30, more than a third of the landscape in peat bog. Aye, that wouldn't be very comfortable, right?
I almost put 36, but I thought it can't be 36. Menno would never have put 36. No chance.
Even 14% is quite a bit.
Yeah,
And Whisky with Molly saying correct. Aquavite, you can't cheat. Well, you can. But it doesn't feel good. You have to kind of, and then if you have a really poor score, just go quiet and congratulate other folk and come back next week. Scott Pascoe is amazingly hardy. He's back. He's benching all the back vPubs, all the previous vPubs, and he's chiming in and he's getting 2 out of 10 and 4 out of 10, and he gets a 7 and he's celebrating and he's really happy and things. It's great fun. Just great fun. Gordon Fraser has hit the nail on the head. Rain. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. However, this winter has been bizarrely, it was very rainy today, but it's been bizarrely dry this winter. It's quite interesting. Peter Lee is in. Good to see you, Peter. We've been wishing Denise a happy birthday all night, my friend. I hope she's doing well. Jimmy Leggs bought us a wee dram. Can you send my sniper coin to Richard Agnew, please? Also, Sevi, could you be more handsome? I think that's could you be
Jimmy.
More handsome?
I probably could, Jimmy, if I'm honest. But I always appreciate your kind words.
You've got a fan in the Jimmy Leggs, Sevi. You've got a fan in Jimmy.
It keeps me awake at night, Jimmy. Thanks.
I'll try. Richard Agnew, if you could send me an email. If maybe I have your address, but if I don't, send me an email to whisky@aquaviti.com and I'll get your email and I'll send your sniper coin courtesy of Jimmy Legg. Terrific stuff. Fantastic, guys. Thank you all so much for stepping up tonight. Menno, thank you for doing what you always do. You always bring it, buddy, even when you're an hour ahead. It's almost 1 o'clock. It's 10 to 1 in the morning for you. I promised these guys that I would be offline, or I promised Sevi today that I would be offline before midnight. Sevi, I might make it tonight, buddy. I might make it.
That's good. Yeah, that's
Listen,
fine.
I hope you've
I'm enjoying it.
A wee kind of deep dive into the peated end of the spectrum, not just peated Scotch, but peat itself and world whiskies. With a smoky style. It's been good fun for me. The takeaways from tonight, I would say Glasgow 1770 is a great Scotch, a unique Scotch that's coming into its own as it's getting older, I think. Price is still an issue, but I don't think you're going to be disappointed picking it up. Loch Lomond is super interesting and great value at £35. We've got a new Guardian in Isla with our Big 10, fully natural as well, 50 quid thereabouts. And literally, Sevi said this whiskey is beautiful. That's Sevi finding a core range whiskey that he loves, which is terrific stuff. The Shelter Point from Canada, you drink that on its own in isolation, you will love that whiskey. It's absolutely compelling. It's terrific. I'll show you how much I've managed to get through in my own. I'm through a half bottle already. And I have to say that this is something that I wouldn't easily reach for because it's precious to me. It's going to be really hard to replace. I got this as a gift from Graham Young. The other two tonight, Connemara, let down by the 40% ABV, not in terms of whiskey context, but in terms of an enthusiast context, because we're looking for a bit more grip, a bit more interest. We did manage to still enjoy it despite its low ABV tonight, but I think it was the weakest in the lineup. And the Japanese whiskey, I'll never forget listening to Ben talking about that being a Japanese whiskey and not mention the word Japanese, and me trying to keep a poker face tonight. I think the biggest takeaway tonight, Ben, is how uncanny you are at this game. It's really good to have you in this community, and I'll always listen to your opinion because it is quite incredible. I think you have a female olfactory system. That's the truth of it. You're like my wife on smells and flavors and things like that. It's amazing. Ben, your channel is what?
Whiskey Geek. Simple enough.
So if you're looking for more of the wee charts, more of those insightful tasting notes, some of that uncanny opinion, you know where to find our Ben. And if you don't go over there to find them, it's not going to be too long before I drag him back onto the vPub again, because I like drinking with him and picking up tips from listening to him assessing a whiskey. Guys, thank you very, very much. I'm going to raise this wee glass to my friend in Belgium. Menno, you're a superstar. Thank you so much, my friend. I'll look forward to having you soon. Take care, buddy. Thank you.
Right.
Sevi, my friend, thank you very, very much, and for staying up late with us tonight. I know you've got an early start in the morning, buddy. Stay backstage, and we'll be able to raise the glass offline as well. Thanks, Sevi. And Ben, well done. I've blown a bit of smoke up your skirt tonight, pun intended, but it's fully, fully deserved. Thanks for stepping in and joining again, Ben. Cheers to you. Yeah. Good night. Thank you. Tonight was a broad brush look at. There was no deep dives into Peat or anything tonight. But it was to celebrate Peat, and you saw that the thumbnail said 2022, so I'm going to continue bringing this in the future, I hope. I think it's a fascinating topic, that incidental flavour, that wonderful heady thing that peat and peated whiskey is, smoky flavours. I think it's fascinating. If you're interested in doing a deeper dive, Menno writes a blog. Menno, please drop your link in for your blog. Menno's Multi-Mission, I think it's called. And his most recent blog post was a peated blog post as well. Menno, despite English being his second language, does a fantastic blog, and I think you'll enjoy reading up about Peat there. If you're interested in even more of a deeper dive, I'll drop the link to the Aaron video from Andy Bell, Scott Adamson, from Andrew Smith, and James Wills. I'll drop the link into that underneath as well. It's a fascinating subject. They go into the plants that make up the peat. They go into the different styles of peat. They go into the history of peat. They go into how each individual distillery uses peat, all of it. And it's a fascinating discussion. It's about an hour and 10 minutes long, and it's wonderful to watch. You'll pick up the link underneath. Listen, thanks to everybody for joining me this evening. I look forward to hanging out with you a week from tonight. But until then, I'll tell you that you're all very dearly loved. And thank you for joining me for a wee Peat session tonight. I'll raise this glass of Shelter Point Canadian malt whiskey and say, Slanchava. It might not actually be malt whiskey, just whiskey. Good night.